Now I'm going to give you 6 main differences between the original book and the 2004 movie. So the first major one is obviously the fact that this takes place in Italy in the book, whereas here they moved it to Mexico. As we said before, it's because back when the book was written, when it takes place, kidnappings in Italy were extremely common, whereas by the time 2000 came around, they would have had to make the movie take place in the past, and that's not what Tony Scott wanted to do. So change of location, but like you say, it adds a whole other vibe factor, because if you had that stylistic thing in Italy, it would have been very different.
Yeah, and I think with mafia, the Italian mafioso, it's sort of now seen as a archaic sort of criminal organization, where in Mexico it's literally that kidnappings still happen. It could happen tomorrow. There's probably going to be kidnappings. You know?
Absolutely. And the other thing I think is that because it takes place, everyone knows the cartels are the most vicious criminals in the world. Short of like raping someone, Creasy can pretty much do whatever he does, and it's never going to seem like he's going too far.
No.
Whereas I feel like, especially, the mafia did terrible things back in the day. But if you had a movie coming out in the 2000s showing, I mean, this is maybe a bit borderline racist of the fact that it's like, oh, white criminals wouldn't do certain things, whereas like let's in America they might. But it basically gave them free range that he can like chop people's like hands off and stick stuff up their butt, and it's like doesn't matter. In the book, as I mentioned, he was kicked out of the US military and then was in the French Foreign Legion, but then was also a mercenary. So he did a lot of really bad stuff. Like I think the bad stuff they talk about is definitely hinted at being a lot worse in the book than it was in the movie.
I mean, it's a reference at the start of the film where he's like, "Oh, how have you been?" He's like, "Oh, I've just been moving from place to place." Or, like a transient sort of soldier of war.
Yeah, because on his CV it doesn't say what he's doing in the last few years, so it's unclear. But apparently he was doing training and stuff like that. Another thing, this is a big one. So in the book, he sleeps with the mom. So they did this in a deleted scene that we saw yesterday. So there's basically a kidnapping nearby them that they're not involved in, and he protects her, sort of saves her life. That's pretty much beat for beat the same in the book and the deleted scene. In the book, that night she comes into his room and fucks him, and it's just kind of a thing that's never spoken of again, but it's obviously happened. Whereas in the movie, she fucks him in the car, which was not classy.
No.
And so we were very glad they took that out of the movie, and it wasn't necessary. No. But that's a big difference. Then, huge difference in the book. Spoiler if you're going to read the book. Pinta is killed, actually killed.
Oh, really?
And raped as well. So, like, very dark aspect there. So the book is kind of broken down into roughly 3 sections. There's a bit at the end about what happens afterwards, but there's main 3 sections. The first section is pretty much the first half of the movie. The third section is roughly the second half of the movie, but there's a whole middle section, because one of the things we didn't really talk about is the fact that I think he spends 1 month recuperating in the movie, right? I think that Miguel says he needs 1 month, but he's still obviously not at all recovered when he starts going on his rampage. Whereas in the book, because she's killed, obviously in the movie, he couldn't be waiting around for 6 months before going on his revenge tour because of the fact that because he thinks she's dead. But because she's alive, it needed to be somewhat quick. Whereas in the book, because she's dead, he takes his time. He goes off to this island somewhere off the coast of Italy and basically recuperates and trains and gets his strength back. And there he falls in love with another woman and has like an affair with her. And there's like a whole thing about him finding a community and becoming friends. Have you seen Equalizer 3?
Yeah, that's very much.
I found
my home.
Exactly.
I drink coffee all day.
There's actually a lot of parallels between Equalizer 3 and the bits that are taken out of this. I do actually wonder if they're inspired.
Especially when we watched the deleted scenes with the deleted scene of him killing the voice with the explosion, like the watch is that is very much Equalizer. I've got 30 seconds to kill this guy.
But so there's a whole other section that's not at all in the movie, and it does make a lot more sense. And also, not only does he recuperate, but his plan is a lot more planned. He doesn't kind of just go from person to person. He like has safe houses that the Christopher Walken character, because he's in the book as well, has set him up. You see him buying the weapons in France and then smuggling them back into Italy. And it's a very cool part of the book. And then finally, Creasy doesn't die at the end of the book because they wrote 4 more books.
Really?
Creasy book. Like it became this guy, AJ Quinnell, is obviously a good writer. He wrote a bunch of other stuff, but the main thing he's known for is writing the Creasy series. And I've actually ordered the second one, so I really enjoy these books and I'll be reading it for fun. But so that is the book versus the movie.
Fascinating.
Because when did you find out it was based on a book?
Probably not that long ago. I always just thought it was a movie, I guess.
I found that last week when I started doing my deep research. Most of the best movies you find out. Obviously, there's the obvious. There's your Harry Potters, Narnia, all that sort of stuff that are based on books. But movies that you did that. Did you know Jurassic Park was based on a book?
No, I
I found that out recently. Like Limitless with Bradley Cooper is based on The Prestige, based on a book. Like a lot of great movies. I think it's a good way for ideas to be fully developed in book form. And then studios that way you can take all the good stuff out of a book, whether the book is good or bad, and then you can make it better or as good in film version.
It gives you a good baseline to then be like, okay, we can cut this scene, we can change this, and I mean, like you said, from a book, there are quite a few deviations in terms of the storyline.
Absolutely. And make sure to check out the full episode here on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon.